Welcome to episode 43 of Winging It, Calling for Calm. Welcome to episode 45 of Winging It. Actually, should we panic? How are we feeling now, gents?
I mean, I wasn't panicking, but now I feel maybe I should. But I don't know if that makes me, a bit of a sheep.
Well, my whole gimmick is that I'm pessimistic, so now I'm just welcoming everyone to the fray.
So, obviously, we'll get into Everton in a little bit.
Someone has to.
Very good. Or at least in the second half. I haven't got a beer this week.
Whoa!
I know.
To be fair,
What's
you don't
happened?
have a beer most weeks. You have some fucking weird fucking chemistry set dreg nonsense.
I'm disappointed to see that you have a Heineken and not the other beer that I'd got for you.
Yeah, look, I'm not very well at the moment, okay? I'm not very well. I'm reaching out for comfort. I have to go with something that I know is going to do the job. And unfortunately, that's a Heineken, okay? I'm sorry.
Question:
Go.
if you have your Heineken and mix it with Night Nurse, does that count as a fruity beer or a triple sour?
Have
or
I
whatever it is?
have I just created my own craft beer? This Heineken is laced with... It's laced with an undertone of drowsy Night Nurse.
Isn't it? What was the drink that rappers would drink in America?
Purple drink, codeine and Sprite.
This is like the shit suburbs of London version.
Codeine
Watfords.
and Sprite.
Yeah, purple drink.
Purple drink, never heard of that. What was the one that people were doing in the UK a while ago?
Heineken and Night Nurse.
No, there was purple as well. I can't think what it was though, but it was what I remember.
Was it
hearing on the
Cowpole?
radio.
I was going to say purple cowpole.
I'm sure it was something a bit more potent than Cowpole, but I
Were
guess
you-
if
were you-
neck our bottle.
Were you gutted when you were too old to have purple cowpole? And
You're
had
never
have
too
the
old
other
to have
Cowpole?
purple Cowpole.
Yeah.
You just have to have more of it, which is anything as a positive.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
A lot of sugar in their mouth.
If they could make if they could make Gaviscon taste like Cowpole, my life would be complete.
Oh dear, it's going to be one of those days where we don't want to talk about the football at all. I do have one good thing to talk about first up, and that's Joe Whitworth on loan at Exeter, Hesketh.
Yeah,
4 clean sheets in 5.
that's not bad.
Man the match in his last 2 games. I think they won 1-0 at Orient yesterday. It's not bad, is it? He's needed a loan move, definitely, and looking like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I've never seen Exeter appear on my Twitter timeline quite as much as I have this season, unsurprisingly. They all seem to love him, though. I mean, I'm not surprised if he's getting that many clean sheets. But yeah, saw a clip of one of his saves, I think, at the weekend. Brilliant save in the last minute or an injury time to give him the win or keep him level, whatever it was. And it's a sort of loan that we want all of our academy players to get, but in recent times they haven't really seemed to give him. But yeah, he's doing what we all sort of assumed he would do, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, David Ozo's got a good one to Derby this season. I think he started well, but he's got injured. And I don't think he's played in the last few. Is it a bad injury? Do you have any idea?
He's done his hammy.
Oh right, so
I think they
weeks.
said 6 weeks when he went off. But Owen Goodman as well, the other goalie who's on loan at Wimbledon's doing pretty well as well. Seems to be enjoying himself there as well. So hopefully our loans
playing in the sand, does he?
He does. Hopefully it's a sort of an upswing in the loans that we're getting. Just waiting for Jez to really pop off at Sheffield United and see how he does, because I think he was on the bench today.
Okay. Everton. Our last ever trip to Goodison Park.
Just play the jingle. Just play the fucking jingle from last week, and let's move on. Played it twice last week. Let's see if we can get free uses out of it this week.
I've removed it from the sound bar to avoid the temptation. So
having to self-police your own jingle usage. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Albert, where did you watch from?
What's one of the only things worse than watching that is you're right. It's watching the Phantom Menace in the cinema. My eldest, who is a huge fan of the Star Wars franchise, particularly the prequels, they were playing Star Wars films for an anniversary, and he begged to go and see Phantom Menace in the cinema. Now, I already saw it 3 times when it came out in the cinema the first time, so I had to go and treat him to do that. So I actually didn't see the first half. I listened to the second half on the way home and saw the last 20 minutes, but then watched the extended highlights on Sky, despite knowing what had happened. But the last 10 minutes that I saw, obviously we were really pushing for it, but I'd been keeping an eye on my phone, and yourselves and my dad, my brother who was actually there. The sort of live reports I was getting didn't really fill me with the utmost of confidence.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit, because I didn't watch the game live. It's the first Palace game I haven't attempted to watch live in as long as I can remember. I was at a first birthday party.
Oh, fine, but that's okay. That's not a conscious decision you've made. Like I said, I was watching a Phantom Menace, for fuck's sake.
Well, I was definitely there was promises that I'd be able to watch it, and then they didn't come through with those promises. So I was a little bit tempered by us taking the lead. That was nice. So I had all that time to just be calm into it, and then the inevitable happened.
Little did we know that the Phantom Menace was actually a reference to Dwight McNeil.
The Phantom McMenace.
Yeah, because I see him doing fuck all any other time, but when he plays us, he seems to turn it on. Or is that just another reverse Wolf Zaha?
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's so many times you hear things like that about Palace. Oh, this always happens to Palace. This only happens to Palace. You don't know. I'm sure every club says the same about themselves in all different guises. But yeah. Nobody says the Wilfried Zaha thing about any of our players anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what about you, Hesketh?
I was not watching The Phantom Menace. I've never seen The Phantom Menace. It sounds like I've made a good decision to never have seen The Phantom Menace. I was watching it at home on...
The Phantom Menace?
Yeah. I was watching it at home on a very reputable legal manner of television.
Hey, if they let you buy a Peacock and use an IP address, they let you buy a Peacock and use an IP address.
I don't even know how we do it, to be honest, because Vanessa sorts everything out. I just press go.
You just reap the rewards of watching us at Goodison Park getting turned over 2-1.
Exactly. I was absolutely loving it when it went 2-1 to Everton. I was really happy with the choice that we'd made.
You thought at least I didn't have to set this up.
At least he's at Bayern, mate. He's gone. Let it go. Yeah, I'm watching it back. I watched it back today, and
why?
I'm also here to tell you that with, I think, a few days to just let all the anger blow over, I think people overreacted a bit.
Think of the amount, the number of jingles you could have recorded in that time.
I just don't think it was as bad as everyone made out. I was expecting to see an absolute car crash of a second half, but in reality, what I saw was a fast 8-9 minutes from Everton at the start with a bit of a kick up and from Sean Dyche at half time and a slight tactical switch, and we just didn't react quick enough, and that did for us. I just don't think it was that bad.
I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to take it back to pre-kickoff.
Wait,
and it's something that jump in the DeLorean pre-kickoff. Something that Albert reminded us of in the chat afterwards about the starting lineup and how we were saying after the whatever game it was debacle when Wharton and Dyche played in the middle together that we would never see those two start a Premier League game again. No, it turns out that wasn't what happened. What did you think about the lineup?
When I saw it on paper, I was hoping it was going to be 4 at the back and not 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever. So not best pleased. I've seen some arguments online of would-be Palace fan tactical geniuses who have laid out in-depth threads over why they don't think Kamada's actually that bad in centre midfield. And tried to back it up with some stats.
What stats?
Suggesting that his tackling isn't as bad as you think, wins more tackles than you think.
Well, when you think he wins none, if he wins one, that is true.
It's going to sound weird. He wins different kinds of tackles that he should be winning for the position he's playing. And it's kind of a combo of him and Wharton trying to effectively do the same things in the centre of the park instead of the natural balance that you always had last season of Wharton with a Hughes or Wharton with a Lerma, where you've got one more naturally holding midfielder. And then Wharton's allowed to express himself a little bit more of his passing range and stuff like that and get aggressive in tackling, always knowing... So he could be aggressive in his passing and then he's counter-pressing if he lost it to try and get the ball back because he always knew he had Hughesy behind him or he had Lerma behind him and they can back it up. Now, Wharton gets aggressive with those passes and the problem is Kamada's followed him up the field and isn't standing in behind him and all of a sudden we've got this gaping hole in the middle between. So Kamada is making more tackles than maybe you'd think because he's having to fucking sprint back and last ditch where he can. And that happened a couple of times against Everton. So those more examples of tackles that you're like, oh God, he does actually make a decent amount of tackles. A lot of them were in positions where he should never have had to make that tackle because he could have just been in a much better position to just pick the ball back up and carry on. Or force Everton to have to play back instead of charging forward. So it's I don't know. I don't, there's eye test has to go along with the stats always. The stats are never telling the full story of what you see. I think one of the benefits why you'd want to play him there is because like Wharton, you want him to progress the ball forward and pass it forward. He does like to pass forward. But he was horrible at that in this game. The amount of times he passed the ball behind Mitchell into touch or just giving horrible passes into Mitchell like that are near on impossible to control under pressure. It's just a lot of little care in his performance because he's an attacking midfielder and sometimes you don't need to have that element of care. You try and fancy flicks around the corner. You're trying to move the ball fast. It's more acceptable to lose the ball on a more frequent basis, but he's just having that sort of attitude as a number 8. And I don't think it really is working for us next to Wharton. And as I talked about last week, the experience thing as well, just, not the Premier League nous between them, where when Kamada went off the pitch and we went to a 4 at the back and Lerma moved into the middle, the first that you could hear him on the video screaming at the centre-backs to pass him the ball as he went and collected it off. and started to direct play where Kamada's hiding from the ball half the time. And I just thought you saw a massive difference when Lerma went into the middle of the park. And that was why I was surprised to hear that everyone was calling the second half a car crash, because I thought once we made the change and got Kamada out of there, it was a combination of Everton were far more competitive in the second half. So they were in it. And I read somewhere that Sean Dyche had a big old passionate chat to them and just saying, got to get more into them. Yeah, exactly.
Passion.
Daichi said, "Get into Daichi." That's what I think.
Yeah.
But they just were never going to come out that second half and be as shit as they were in the first half. On top of that, Braithwaite had come back, and I thought he had an excellent game. Really, really gave Mateta a bit of a seeing to be honest. So it was a combination of things why the second half was tougher, but I think we fully competed outside of that first 10 minutes where we just didn't get to grips with Jack Harrison being further up the pitch and causing a bit of havoc. I don't know. What do you think, Albert? Do you think the second half's a massive car crash or what? Or do you think there's a lot of anger in it because we've thrown the lead away?
Again, not having seen it live and only going off the sort of messaging at the time, the theme very much coming through was the second half was terrible. We were so much better in the first half. Now, admittedly, like I say, the best I saw of it was like half an hour of highlights, which isn't the whole story. But it's better than watching our match of the day. The first half highlights for me, from where I was watching it, that looked all like it was Everton as well, apart from our goal. So in the highlights, it didn't feel like the first half and the second half were that different. Obviously, the last 10 minutes where we're just lumping the ball forward and doing everything we can to scrap at some chances, that's obviously the ball's in our possession more than Everton are just sitting back and doing a Sean Dyche protect the lead job, which obviously they did quite well. But I don't know, just going back to what you were saying before, the giving the ball away just seems to be, it's not just Kamada, it's absolutely not just Kamada, but it feels like that's definitely a theme running through the team at the moment. I remember particularly at QPR, just the sort of, it's not even sloppy. I wouldn't even go that far, but the number of times we have the ball, and we're a team that does like to sort of keep it at the back and then try and sort of play an incisive pass, but the number of times that I've seen our various combinations of centre halves in the back three, whether it's sort of passing it out to one of the sort of wing backs or sort of a 10, 15 yard pass into the middle. Number of times it's under hit or just 2 yards in the wrong direction on the angle and getting intercepted. We seem to be turning the ball over like so much more than we did last season. Obviously, we can talk about the players that aren't here and has that had an effect, but Mark Gahey's still the same player he was, and okay, some of the new players might still be bedding in and not quite fit or nervous or whatever it is, but there's definitely a feeling of turning the ball over under not that much pressure, and you combine that with a nervy back three that's relatively new, and like I say, it's a word I keep using, a very tender defence. It's a recipe for disaster, and it is slightly worrying.
Do you think that Hesketh is tantamount to playing in a system? And because we've got a whole bunch of new cogs in there, right? So you've got Lacroix now in there. At some point, we're going to have Shalabar join that back line as well. Lerma's having to play now on the weekend. We've got a new midfielder in Kamada. We've got Nketiah, who is not a number 10. He's a number 9, and he's playing in a completely different position. So is there an element of his kind of like Glasner's having to get his system over across to completely again? So it's almost like we're in a position where it's when he joined basically is where we're at again, not quite to the extreme, because he's obviously got players who were with him last season, but still a lot of players in key roles now that have to not just learn the system, because Kamada should know it technically because he played with him at Frankfurt, but also in terms of knowing the players around you and understanding to make those patterns of play and those passes connect together much better.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of that in there. Like you say, we've got a lot of new players in. They're playing all across the pitch, right? So we've got new centre backs and we've got new midfielders in the middle and new players up front. And something we touched on last week was where we've had all of these players come and go in internationals, and then we've got the odd injury here and there. So everything's changing all the time. And as much as we talk about, we didn't think Wharton and Kamada would play together, so we're not having the same back three ever. And likely, I would imagine Chalobah comes in on Saturday, so it will be different again. So I think there's a lot of that. I think that's right. And we haven't had like a settled pre-season. And even in the last sort of international break, there were players who were off and players who weren't. The one thing that really is noticeable to me of late, and I think we were guilty of it a bit in the second half against Everton, and I think it was more noticeable because Everton were very quick to get back, and you know what Dyche is like we're just setting up and we're going to be very hard to get through. Is it when we were on form at the end of last year, we were moving the ball really quickly and we were really incisive, and like Albert said, we were hitting all these passes and we were getting the ball up really quickly, and I'm sure confidence has a lot to do with it, and I'm sure Elise has something to do with it, but I just feel we're a bit laboured at the moment, and I don't know if it's a vicious circle of we're in a bit of a bad spot, so we're a bit more nervous and we're trying to force it, or we're a bit more nervous and those passes aren't coming, or we're trying to play quickly but we're not in the right form, so we can't do it. And it does feel, I mean, I didn't expect us to be in the European places by now, as much as we like to get carried away at the end of last year. But obviously you would like to think that we're better than no wins in the first 6 games and in the bottom 3. And I just feel like there are a few things that haven't clicked. And it's probably a lot of reasons. But that obviously doesn't get any easier against Liverpool. But the hope is that Glasner is going to be able to either fix on a settled 11 or fix on a system that can get the best out of everyone. And I think that, that the players that you've named there are getting pelters. Look, people still don't really fancy Lacroix from what I've seen. Obviously, Kamada's getting it from all sides. It's up to him to figure it out. I mean, I think you mentioned Nketiah not being a 10. I mean, I agree. I don't think he is. But I like that in the games I've seen him play, he at least is looking to affect the game. Like, he comes to get the ball and he wants to run forward with the ball and he wants to move us up the pitch. And there are some players who I would expect that of, like Eze, who haven't been doing it. You know, I was getting wound up with Eze, and we can talk about it a bit more and get your opinions on it. But I was getting a bit wound up with Eze at Everton because he was sort of doing the thing where he was waiting for the passes to come to him. He wasn't really like forcing himself on the game. And he had a couple of runs.
You're trying to get Kamada out of jail here.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think that was a good pass. But at the same time, like I do see with Eze sometimes when he's just like, when I get the ball, I'll go past someone, or like I know what I'm going to do when I get the ball. You've got to go and get the ball more often. You're the creative spark in the team. You're the guy that can go past a couple of players and bang in a goal. You know, as good as one against Chelsea. And I think with Elise, go on, you're the man now, mate. You know, I just think he's got to affect the game a lot more. And I think Nketiah has been the one who's done that. But, you know, if he's coming and getting the ball and you want him further up the pitch, then that leaves that space. And with JP not in much form at the moment, that's another barrier to us doing well. So there's a lot going on. And I don't know what the solution is. Glasgow gets paid a lot more money to figure out what it is. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we can't take it away that we have lost one of the most exciting wingers of all time. You know, someone that could score worldies, could make everybody else on the pitch look 10 times the player they are. You know, and we have got to get used to not having Jordan Ayew in the team. But, you know, really, the like you say, the onus is on Eze. He's got to step up. He is the main man. He is the main creative spark. And he's at times he's sort of hiding. It feels like on Saturday, it felt like he sort of just drifted out wide, and like you say, we're just waiting for the ball at times, and it's like, no, you've got to come inside, you've got to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, because ultimately that's his role in the team now. Like he's the one that has to do that, and he's the one that can do it, and everybody has to sort of try and play through him. And at the moment, it's just not working, and it's slightly worrying, because up until Glasner came in, and when Elise came back from injury last season, I thought Ebbs was sort of playing very similar to how he is now. It's very sort of hiding's the wrong word, but it's not the most proactive. Right, give me that fucking ball. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you need ultimately. The players that can all of a sudden pop it in the fucking top left corner out of nowhere. They have to take that responsibility and try and lead by example.
Yeah, what's weird at the moment, it feels like a lot of the responsibility is being taken by Munoz and Mitchell, in terms of, obviously the system's created to give them space on the flanks and so on, but for all the time that we're relying on it to be one of those two to pick someone out with a ball into the box. And, a lot of the time I'm seeing it's often ended with JP linking the play, so he's not in the middle as much as you'd expect him to be to get on the end of the crosses. In the last few games when cutbacks have found Eze, he's cocked him up when you'd expect him to finish. And likewise, Nketiah is not getting into the box as much as you'd like to get on the end of things either. So it's going to be an interesting problem to solve, because I think ultimately he's going to end up he's going to have to drop one of Nketiah on Mateta.
100%.
It's just going to have to happen. And for all the things, we'd like Sarr in there, but we don't really know, right? Sarr's not a 10 either, right? Sarr's more of a winger. Can he come in and play that, one of those two 10s?
4-2-3-1.
Remains to be seen. So yeah, well, no, and exactly right. Does Glasner look at it and end up coming out with we need to change the system slightly? The problem that comes there though is we've got an awful lot of centre backs we've signed.
Well, yeah, and you're resetting the clock, aren't you? We're here saying that there's new players and it's a slightly new system, and they're getting to grips of it. And the moment you go, right, all right, lads, we're going to do 4-2-3-1 now. As much as I'd like to see it, essentially you're fucking turning the egg timer over again with the same new players. All right, they might take to that a little bit quicker, because maybe a lot of them are used to playing in a back four more, but. Ultimately, we've either got what we're doing now has to click fairly soon, or, in my opinion, we have to change it fairly soon. Because it's one of those two options.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we spoke about the opposition rather than us a couple of weeks ago when we played Man U, Terence said, do a Man U looking at how to play against Palace, or are they going to play their own game? And for us, it's now, we've got this game against Liverpool coming up. Do we look at what we can do to stop Liverpool and change it accordingly that way? Or do we just say we need to get on with what we're doing because it's not working? We need to figure ourselves out and play our own game, which then could end up, with us getting a paste in. But yeah, I mean, the Sarr thing's interesting as well, because I think Sarr's looked good every time he's come on. And at least he's looked, like I said with Nketiah, like he wants to get the ball forward, and he's looking for the ball and he wants to do something in the game. And whilst he isn't a 10, do we start him as a 10 and see how he does? Because otherwise it's like you are coming and doing well, but you're not going to play. You're still going to be a sub. There's so many things that we could do that might work, but the longer it goes on where we're not winning games, and then obviously we've got another international break, and then it's Forest away, I think, is a game after that, which is a big one. It's very tough to see what we have to do to get out of this slump. Yeah, it's true that you end up with a lot of pressure, assuming we lose to Liverpool, you end up with a lot of pressure on that Forest game, because then it's Spurs the following week after Forest. So
Never gets easier in the Premier League, does it? But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, he's going to find ways to do it. It's not the first time he's been in this sort of predicament. I think he started at Frankfurt with 1 win in 10. He started with us with 1 win in 6. So it's not like he hasn't been in this sort of predicament before, and has obviously found ways to resolve it. I mean, with us, we've just got to hope that it wasn't just Michael Elise coming back from injury, to be honest. Because earlier this week, we did surpass the year mark since we last beat a team that isn't currently in the Championship without Michael Elise on the pitch. Do you remember that game, Albert?
Tell me the stat again.
I think you drove for about 8 hours and still managed to miss our goal.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
United away, Joachim Andersen. That was the last time we won a game without Elise on the pitch against a team that isn't in the Championship right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 wins against Burnley in the league. And couple of cup wins against lower league opposition.
Where is he now?
Well, I mean, Elise's lost 1-0 with Bayern at Villa tonight. He could have done that at Palace. He could have done that at Palace.
He's gone all that way just to do that. Idiot.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's good. We just got to trust in Glasner. I can't imagine we're going to get, because we could feasibly get to the 10-game mark here and still not have a win. Can you see any scenario there where Parish starts getting a little bit itchy trigger finger, Hesketh? Or Albert, you go.
Albert, you go.
Hello, is that Bayern Munich? You know when we said no? Look, it's the Premier League. Just managers go fucking left, right, and centre, and so I'm not going to sit here and say no. There's no way that would happen. There's no way that would happen. I mean, they've invested a lot of sort of Glasner's clearly got the players that he wanted. I think it's fair to say over the last sort of 2 windows. So he can't claim that he hasn't been backed. I think we could certainly sit here and say, well, another left back would have been nice, but I don't think the lack of a second wing back option is the reason why we're struggling. So I don't think that can be used as an excuse for anybody that wanted to find excuses. I mean, like I say, who knows? It's the Premier League. If Parish thinks for whatever reason, right or wrong, when all said and done, that the best thing is for Oliver Glasner to get his marching orders, he'll do it. No one wants to see it because it's just another for fuck's sake, it was all looking so rosy. But it's football, and at the end of the day, if Parish thinks that's what's best, it'll happen. Let's just hope it's not what's best.
It's so funny just thinking back to the end of last season, and it might have been the last pod of the season, where we're just basking in the glory, sort of, with the nagging in our back, like, how are we going to fuck this up? I think we said that exact phrase several times.
Didn't think it would happen this quickly.
I just don't think there's anyone in football who pays attention to the Premier League who would have expected us to have this start, given the back end of last season. I got people never messaging me about football, going, what's going on with Palace? He was so good at the end of last season.
Like, looking back on some of the games, I hate to be like, I know it's all ifs and buts, but it didn't happen. But you're like, little things like, if you hadn't if Eze's free kick against Brentford had gone in, that would have been, we would have won that. If Eze hadn't missed that one chance, or if we'd done this or we'd done that, it's like I don't think we've had a full 90 minutes of being good, but similarly, I don't think we've had a full 90 minutes of being shit. And evening it out, you would think, well, you'd think we'd get a win somewhere in the first 6 games, but then we didn't envision being 2-0 down at home to Leicester. for example.
No, and I think you're right. Like there's games there where, okay, it's again cliche. No one's got the right to beat anybody, but there's games there that we really have sort of thrown good opportunities to come away with more points than we've got. That's the worry. Like I say, we're now, what we've had Leicester at home, we've had Everton away, and we've come up short in both of those games. Right, we did better against United at home, but United are dog shit at the end of the day. And now we've gone.
I mean, we could have comfortably been 4-0 down in that game, though. To be fair,
but you're absolutely right. But we've made them maybe look good, and they've done not a lot since. But we've the Leicester game, Everton, who have been 2-0 up and pissed away leads. They're incredibly fragile. We've gone there. We've come away on the wrong end of a 2-1. And then you go, right, who's next? Great, it's Liverpool. So, a game which, hand on heart, none of us would necessarily expect to get anything out of. It's the games where we should have nicked a little bit more than we have. That there's quite a few of those that have got those on-paper games that have sort of gone already. And that's where it's, like I say, if we get to 10 games and it's similar, that's where it starts to get quite squeaky.
Yeah, I think if we go back a few pods, we can find you saying, with all due respect to Leicester, this is the easiest game on paper this season.
Yeah, I'll stand by that.
Right,
Football's not played on paper, though, is it?
Oh, it's not, unfortunately. I'm saying that if it was, we'd probably be in the League One or something like that.
In the Ryman's League. Stationary joke.
So, as episode 43, we said calling for calm. And I think I've already listed a couple of reasons. Let's say Glasner's started at Frankfurt with 1 win in 10 in the past, 1 win in 6 with us last season. We've all lost it. Sure, maybe that broke the camel's back, but everyone's gone nuts. But we haven't won at Everton in a decade. It's hardly a happy hunting ground for us. So losing at Everton isn't a surprise.
If you're trying to make me feel better, you can fuck off.
I mean, you've talked there about Everton throwing 3 leads away in a row, 2 of them 2-0s, and then drawing a 1-1. Anyone who's watched Everton those times, to get a 2-0 lead, you've obviously been playing well, and they could have easily put Bournemouth out of sight. So it's not like Everton have been playing as dog shite as they were at the start of the season now. It's just funny they've had some eye-catching results because of the way they've ended up rolling out. But, we've ended up getting them. They've just picked up a 1-1, so they've stopped the stem of defeats. Braithwaite's come back. It's just been announced that they got new owners coming in. So everything around it was a bit of a shit time to go there. So...
And it wasn't John Textor, so it's just it's just getting better and better for them.
Yeah. So it's just a bit, a bit of a shit opponent at a shit time, to be honest. And these things happen. Sometimes you get runs in football where you're just playing everybody at the right time. All the things are falling in your favour. And at the moment, I just don't think things are falling in our favour. And hopefully that will change. You always know how it is with Pad as well. It's not like you say hand on heart, we don't expect anything against Liverpool, but there's always a little percentage of you when we play Liverpool in the back of your brain going, well, we have been known to turn them over. So less so at Selhurst, but...
I mean, it was a game against Liverpool last year that Glasner turned it around, wasn't it? I think, just to sort of end the talk about this Everton game, but like in the first half, we obviously scored early and had a few more chances. And we're like, fuck, we have to take the chances when they come. Obviously, I know it's cliched and everyone has to take their chances. But if you go in, let's say 2-0 up at half time, the crowd already on the back, but letting them in so early changes the dynamic of the game completely. And even though they only played for like 10 minutes or whatever it was, and I only had like 2 or 3 shots, we had it in us to beat them for sure. Even if the overall game wasn't as bad as people are saying, overall game was like all right, we still had it in us to beat them. And I think it's just frustrating that we've had a couple of games like that and we're like, fuck, just, take those chances when they come. They're not that difficult. Go back to Ebbs against Man U. You've got to score those, and you do that, and it's completely different. So the hope is we get a game where we do take those chances, and even if we only have one shot, but we manage to score it, and that turns the thing in favour. It could be something as easy as that, or as simple as that does it. But we've just got to keep going. Like I just really don't want to see us let a goal in against Liverpool, say, and then drop our heads, and then that's it. Because we're not in good form or whatever, which again is also quite possible. But I don't know if what do you guys think about how we're going to set up against them? Do you reckon we'll play like Nketiah up front? Do you reckon Lerma will come back into midfield and Chalobah will start? What do you think?
I think I can't. He can't play Kamada in the middle of the game again because he's changed it now.
Play the sound effects.
He's changed it after an hour. 3 games running now with Kamada in the middle. So I can't see how it ends up being him in the middle. So I would expect it to be Wharton and Lerma, unless he goes all left field and goes Lerma and Kamada in there, which is I don't think he's going to drop Wharton for a second. But at the same time, if you're going to drop one of Wharton and Kamada, you've got to drop one of Wharton and Kamada to play with Lerma. Let the other one do that. And I think Kamada would probably excel a bit more in that role if he's given the Wharton side of things to do. But I don't think he should be taking Wharton out of the team. So, don't know. But it's the up top, which is the interesting one in terms of, you can easily pass it off as Mateta needs a rest. He's just played so much football. Give him a rest, letting Nketiah play in the top run. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Mateta's scoring goals at Selhurst, loves to score goals at Selhurst Park. So I just can't. I can easily see the same team being put out, but potentially with Lerma in for Kamada, assuming Chalobah's fit to come in and play in defence. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches it. But
who are you leaving out of the defence if Chalobah's fit?
Well, it would be Lerma, wouldn't it, coming out?
True.
Yeah, so it's because Richards is now injured.
Is he still injured?
Yeah. He's hamstring as well, right? So it'll be at least a few weeks. Yeah, so...
Ow! Oh, no, that's Texter, sorry.
but I mean, he's another one who's played a shit ton of football.
Mm-hmm.
Been playing a lot with USA, so it's, not the best.
Played a lot of defence.
Defence. So it'd be an interesting one, but I don't think for 1 minute we're gonna still go out and try and win the game. That's what Glasner does. That's his philosophy. He's not going to go out there and tell them try and just sit in and try and pick up a result against Liverpool. He's gonna have a go at them and try and find ways to beat them. I want to talk about Lacroix just a little bit because in watching the game back, I actually think he had a really good game against Everton. And another step up in sort of, getting towards the player that we thought we'd signed. And do you class that as a goal from a corner? Because it's him making a nuisance of himself, getting an assist there. He's had a header just over from a corner in the second half. Got on an overlap around the back of Munoz at some point as well and got a cut back. So clearly sort of stretching his legs a bit more, getting out there. But yeah, is that a goal from a corner? Is it in the stats? Is the stats officially showing it as a goal from a corner?
Well, wasn't it the last goal that they said we scored from a corner? We were putting down as dubious. Yeah, I don't think I've got the front to sit here and now say, yeah, that was a goal from a corner.
I think ironic if it was that it came from one of the shittest corners I've seen. Yeah. That we managed to sort of like recycle and then punt into the far post.
See, that's one of Kamada's tackles in that game, for example.
Yeah.
Just say he makes more tackles than you think. That was not the kind of tackle you're expecting from your centre midfielder to have to make, to be honest. But Yeah, but no, he's definitely a presence in there. So surely goals will come.
He is, yeah, and I also think he played all right. I got annoyed during the game for the second goal because I think when the ball went back into the box, he sort of jumped weird and turned his back a bit, and I was getting aggro because we just let a goal in, being like, fucking, that's just like lever him, just clatter into him or something. Looking back and everything, I was being a bit harsh, but I think the only like mistake that I remember him making was when he lost the ball, and I think Decore was running through and goal, and then he just made a brilliant save and tackle anyway, which we talked about, I think, in the last pod, when he overtook Garnacho in the Man U game. Doing that will give him a bit of confidence. And albeit his own mistake set up the chance, but him getting back and making a brilliant tackle can't hurt his confidence too much. So I think he'll be all right. Like, I don't think he's been awful. I think he's, like you say, he's gotten better. He looks more comfortable going forward, which I think we sort of expect him to be like anyway. So it does look like it's a case of him just settling in. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on if he has another defensive partner, if Chalobah comes in. But yeah, I think he's done all right. I think he'll be fine.
Albert, it's Liverpool who are coming to Selhurst. Decent start to the season for them. Did have a bit of a stutter against Forest, was it? Did Forest beat them?
Yeah.
Or was it 0-0? Or Forest beat them 1-0?
Hudson-Odoi scored, I think, didn't
he? Yeah. So, and I think as of tonight, they've beaten Bologna 2-0 in the Champions League tonight. We've not done so well against them at Selhurst in recent years. Is there
True.
anything you're hoping for on Saturday?
What am I hoping for? The football.
Not a tasty jerk. Yeah. Too early. Yeah. 12:30 kickoff. It won't be open.
It bloody better be. No, what am I hoping for? I'm actually hoping for. It's very weird to sit here and say this, bearing in mind we're bottom three, we haven't won a game yet. I actually don't mind if we lose on Saturday, but what I want to see is us losing because we've been beaten, by what is ultimately a quality side. They're I think they've sort of, considering they haven't made any major changes apart from the manager. They've not had a huge influx of new talent. They've obviously got a new lease of life into a pre-existing decent squad, and they're playing really well. So, look, there's no shame in losing to Liverpool. I don't want the old spanking like we got during COVID, but I actually don't. I don't mind if we come away losing to a very good in-form Liverpool side on Saturday. But what I want to see is it's not because haven't turned up or we've been really soft at the back. I want us to be beaten by quality. I don't want us to sort of fizzle out. So I want to see a performance. And like you say, Glasner tries to win the games. He'll do that with the best 11 and the system that he thinks can do it. But I want to see the plan. I want to see chances created. I want to see fluency in our play and in our passing, because that's what's been missing. It'll be a bigger ask against the Liverpool side, but let's try and give a good account of ourselves. Let's not just roll over just because it's Liverpool. Let's go at them. And if they beat us on the day because they've got an informed Mohamed Salah, for example, then we can all hold our hands up and come away with that and say fair enough.
Hesketh looking forward to a dodgy VAR decision against us. That's normally the run in the mill against Liverpool.
100%. I was just thinking pen. Yeah. Game hasn't even kicked off yet. Doesn't matter. Penalty. No, I'm the same as Albert. I mean, to be honest, I expect us to lose. They've looked all right in the games I've seen them play so far this season. And I think it's going to be very difficult. But yeah, like Albert said, I want to see us, and I'm sure we will, whether we're able to get a win or get a draw or whatever. But I just want to see us play positive football. And I think we will. I don't think it's going to be everyone sit and defend that we've seen in years gone by. I just hope something just hope something goes our way and we get a result. I think it'd be a massive result to go into the international break. But then, to be fair, I thought that about the Chelsea game, and that did bugger all. So that's as positive as I'll get.
Well,
Not
talking
very.
of dodgy penalties against Liverpool at Selhurst, Ben Teke is top scorer in MLS, 21 goals. Loan move in January, anyone? Just kidding. Anyway.
I'm open to it.
You're open to it, are you?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Who
Glasner
could
would
we
be.
swap out?
The vendetta is back.
Well, what are we in October? When it sort of clicks over to November and the transfer window's approaching, it'll start bagging left, right, and centre again. Don't worry.
Boom.
Yeah. Anyway, do we want to do a prediction, or should we just?
Too many goals to Liverpool.
I'll go 3-0. 3-0 Liverpool.
3-0. I'll go 3. I'll go 3-1.
I'll go 1-0 Liverpool. Just extra special break our hearts.
That's even more annoying than getting pumped. That is,
and it'll be like 76 minutes or something as well. Don't know. Well, anyway, thanks for the
on
listen.
that cheery note.
Yeah, hopefully it was cathartic. It felt a bit cathartic for me, so maybe it was just because I didn't have a beer.
Trust me, it hasn't helped.
Hasn't helped at all.
Hasn't helped.
But that night nurse will. So, on that note, thanks to everyone for listening. Is it international break next week?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll actually have a week off next week.
Have a week off, will you?
Recharge our batteries a bit.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. So no pod next week. Week after we'll be back when we'll, well, actually, do you know what? Let's face it. If we beat Liverpool, we'll do a pod.
Deal.
If we don't beat Liverpool, we'll catch you up on that after international break.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks then.
Yeah. Anyway, until then, thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, up the palace.